The October 2022 Unfound newsletter. What a crazy trip September was. A lot of it was planned, of course. But while this past week, with all the indecision regarding Hurricane Ian, well, it was all a little bit more than this boring guy could take. Hey everyone, how are all of you? If you are in the Fort Myers area of Florida, my sympathies go out to you. The forecasters did you wrong, but I doubt any of them will ever pay for their mistakes. They set you up to be put in a dangerous situation. Yes, the storm couldn't be stopped, and yes, all those buildings and bridges and roads were going to be damaged. But the people who were there, surely most of them would have gotten out had the predictions been more accurate. Very sad. But on this topic, I'll be discussing the media and true crime and how it should learn something from what happened in Southwest Florida over the last couple of days. Clearwater Beach, a big nothing burger here. Power went out for a day, but everything is beautiful now. September saw me speak at 2 schools. I'll be writing about that below. I played well in a disc golf tournament. Hallelujah. Cracked a root canal. Dang. And the stock market continues to tank while inflation goes through the roof. So all in all, September was an up and down month. Maybe it was the same for all of you. Let's start where I usually do. Upcoming cases. October 7th, Natasha/Alex Carter and Susan Carter, her mother. October 14th, we will be revisiting the disappearance of Jason Jolkowski. What are we working on? Keith Call and Cassandra Haley's disappearances. Ebony Spears, Crystal Hall, Eugene Martin, Mark Allen. Yes, I know, another revisited episode, but there's a reason for that. This coming Wednesday, October 5th, I'm headed to Rock Hill, South Carolina for the United States Disc Golf Championship. And I will be there till the following Monday, October 10th. Not playing, just watching. This is a trip with some friends, and I haven't done anything like this since I went to Canada in September 2019. I really don't take vacations like this. Meaning my Unfound time next week will be less than usual, so I can't guarantee interviewing anybody because of this. But frankly, I've wanted to revisit Jason's disappearance because I continue to call it the most mysterious one Unfound has covered. And it was the second episode going way back to 2016. And you know how I hate superlatives. There's just no clear explanation. It could be anything. Hopefully, with the vast experience we've acquired since this episode first aired, maybe we can come up with some new ideas. Either way, as you can see, we've certainly been reaching out and talking to people, but the last part of September and the early part of October are seeing unique occurrences. So what's going on? Greeley, Colorado. Yeah, that's what's going on. As many of you predicted over a month ago, yes, I will be going back to this city an hour north of Denver for the retrial of Steve Pankey. I got a call about 2 weeks ago from an assistant there. Then on September 23rd, I had a conference call with the DA. I'm not going to get into any specifics about the conversation, but I will say that it didn't last long and that my perception, will be like Groundhog Day, doing everything the same again. The tentative dates for my travel are leaving October 19th and coming back to Florida October 22nd. Those were the original ones, but actually I will be leaving on October 18th and coming back on the 20th, so I will only spend 2 nights there. That works perfectly between a disc golf tournament on October 16th and the Iron Maiden concert in Tampa on October 27th. It's like the prosecution in Greeley knows my schedule. Haha. As I stated many times before, I didn't get into true crime podcasting with the hopes of being in the center of a trial. I think I'm rare in that way, but in retrospect, when I interviewed Steve Pankey 3 years ago, maybe I should have known where this would take me. Maybe. My attitude toward the murder of Janelle Matthews continues to be that I don't really care who murdered her. All I care about is that the correct person goes to jail for the crime. I have no rooting interest for the prosecution, the defense, or anyone else. In fact, dare I say it, of everyone who was called to be on the stand for the first trial, and of anybody who will be on the stand for the second trial, I am surely the least opinionated person on the entire thing. Have I expressed my opinion? Yes, I have. Publicly, too. But it's not a topic where I would ever debate with somebody. My insight has been that if this were a disappearance, which it was for 35 years, but is not now, my first choice for a suspect would not be someone who lived 2 miles away and who hasn't been proven to know the missing girl. However, I must admit that I don't think I would have ever predicted that the missing girl would be found so far away out in the field. That's my experience. That's what my experience tells me, but every disappearance is different. One effect from this trip will be that I'll be doing the next Dr. Telesco show from my hotel room in Colorado. That should be interesting. We already have it on the agenda that we will at least give a general overview of all the circumstances leading up to me being there for a second time. However, I will not talk about my courtroom experience until it's all done, which it won't be when Grace and I get together. And as far as how this affects the work I've done with the UK production company, we'll surely not be doing anything until the trial is completely over, so we're in a hovering pattern right now. In addition, I don't plan to tell them anything about what's going on anymore than I'm telling all of you. Next topic for this newsletter, presentations. It was a while coming. The last one I did was in March, but I got to do 2 last week on September 20th and September 22nd. I got to say I love it. 100%. I love the atmosphere. I love the students. I love the professors and administrators who allow me to educate these kids, if only for 75 minutes. The questions at both schools from the students were fantastic. So maybe the question from some of you might be, Ed, how can you do that? I get so nervous when I have to speak in public or give a presentation at work or talk to a group of people at my sports club. How do you do it? I think I can help you. But first, please understand that if you are a grown adult, you'll never get the experience I have. From first grade, I was up in front of people playing the piano at talent shows. I played in piano recitals where I played for 20 minutes without any music. I started in the drama club in high school. I performed in Las Vegas for Star Trek The Experience for 4.5 years for people who demanded to be entertained. Compared to all that, speaking in front of college students with my notes right there on the screen is nothing. I don't even get any butterflies in my stomach. It also doesn't hurt that I love entertaining people and teaching. By the way, this is why my disc golf yips were so weird, because I'm not one to get anxiety when doing anything in front of others. Well, there have been a few times, but they are rare. For all of you, though, who have nothing close to any of the above, here are my recommendations. First of all, of course, be prepared. I know, duh, but this means more than just putting all your notes together or an outline or cue cards or a PowerPoint file on your computer, which is what I use when I speak at colleges. What I mean is you must go through the speech or dissertation or whatever over and over and over until it's second nature to you. Even for me, with all my experience, I wrote the presentation very slowly, going through everything in my mind, always asking the question, does it make sense to put this topic here? Then after that, despite the entire thing being over an hour, I went through it multiple times, talking it all out in my condo, looking at the mirror, walking around my place, doing the PowerPoint as if I were in front of the class. This is where you will find the flaws in what you wrote, and much like an actor, you'll get to the point where you don't have to think about what you're saying. You'll just say it. Next important point, looks don't matter. Subconsciously, I think this is what people worry about the most. We see the flaws in our appearance more than everyone else does. We see the same face, the same body every day, so we can't help but notice that we're not getting any younger. Hey, those clothes don't fit anymore. Oh no, look at this pimple. Thus, when getting up in front of people and everybody's eyes are on one person, and you're going to be up there for a while, well, that's a lot of time for people to examine your hairstyle and fashion and everything else. Yep, nerve-wracking. But I'm here to tell you, none of that matters. Now, granted, and this is not to brag, but I take care of myself. I'm vain. I take pride in looking like I do at 52 years old with no plastic surgery or anything. I have great hair, as you've seen. And I was a model at one time, yada, yada, yada. But none of that matters. Instead, I refer you to the movie School of Rock with Jack Black. A girl who is overweight is afraid to go up and sing in front of people because she's afraid they'll call her fat. Jack tells her about Aretha Franklin, who was no small woman in her later years. Rest in peace, Aretha. But Jack said that didn't matter. When she got up and sang, she killed it. And that made her sexy. Suddenly men and women didn't care about how Aretha looked. They wanted to be with her just because she was a great performer. You may not end up being Aretha Franklin, but you should think about public speaking the same way. If you do a bang-up job, you command that room, you leave them in awe of your intelligence and communication. That will never care or wink that you maybe go to Krispy Kreme a little too much. They won't remember what you wore. They won't remember your hairstyle. They'll only remember how smart and fluid you were. They'll remember being impressed. Next point, you got to have a fun attitude. Hey, I know this may be the toughest part of all. Hey, it's easy for me. I love teaching people about disappearances. I love learning about disappearances. Moreover, I love the college atmosphere, the campuses, the buildings, the feeling of just being there. But for some of you, your presentation may be a situation where you're expected, or dare I say it, forced, to give a talk about something. It's part of your job, and if you don't do it, you're out. And it may be on the most boringest of subjects related to your job, even though you love your job. And your supervisors will be watching your every move. Yeah, not fun. Whereas I have no supervisors. Still, you will have to dig deep inside to project fun, enjoyment, casualness, etc., no matter what the topic is. I'm telling you, this will make all the difference when you get up there and start talking. The good part, you only have to fake it for as long as the presentation is. Once you're done, you are certainly permitted to never speak well of that topic again. But in those 15 minutes, that half hour, that hour, that 2 hour time, a 2 hour time of being up in front of everyone, your mindset should be exactly as if you were a rock star and you're performing at Wembley Stadium in England. This will help you get through it. Oh, by the way, there is that suggestion out there that a public speaker should envision the audience being naked if the speaker is nervous. Yeah, I've never done that. I don't ever intend to do that. So I cannot recommend that to you. Really, it just sounds weird and dirty. And this one last thing might also help. You can't give a crap, or worse words, you can't give a crap. Like anything else in life, if you care about performing too much, it will hurt your chances of being your best. Expectations cause anxiety. Anxiety causes you to work at your least efficient. Just get up there and do it. Don't expect applause or standing ovation or a slap on the back. Just do the work. Likewise, if someone criticizes you, just tell the person, hey, if you think you can do better, there's the microphone. You can say that to everyone, but your supervisor, of course. So those are my recommendations if you do have some public speaking fears. Moving on. This is a big topic for this will take us to the end of this newsletter. The responsibility of media. I think this topic's on my mind because, well, media is always on my mind because I'm part of it. I'm a reporter. I have a podcast. Well, I have 2 podcasts. I have the live show. I write on disappearances. I interview people. Like it or not, I'm part of the media. That wasn't planned. That's just how things have gone. However, my profession is on my mind right now due to what I observed over the past week with local reporting on Hurricane Ian as it ran its course from the Caribbean over Cuba, then eventually hitting the Fort Myers area with devastating consequences. It's just horrible. Very sad. Where I'm going with this and why it is being included in this newsletter, part first. Really, I found the coverage to be disgusting. It was the ultimate in cynicism. What do I mean? Well, with 2 days to go before Ian was supposed to hit Tampa directly, the local news would come on. The weather people would say, this could be the once-in-a-lifetime storm. Oh, this is going to be so bad. We're going to have 12-foot high storm surges in Tampa. They showed all these maps and graphs and diagrams about what was allegedly going to happen in about 2 days in the Tampa area. Then at the end of that, it was like, and now back to your regular programming of let's make a deal. So on one hand, this is going to be the worst thing ever. On the other hand, We don't want you to miss your game show. Really, if this was really going to be as bad as they portrayed with every word, then why exactly are they going back to regular programming for the next hour? Well, we know why. It's all about the money. Keep in mind, this is a local broadcast. This wouldn't have been like people in Kansas were ticked that they were missing The Price is Right. This is local TV where every single person in the viewing area should have been interested in what the meteorologists were saying. Still, the game shows and soap operas of afternoon TV needed to be played. And I reiterate, 2 days before what the reporters called a disaster was about to happen. Should not have people have been preparing themselves instead of sitting on their couches? You'd think. This brings me to the second part, and this is all going toward what the true crime media can learn from this. The second part is that right around the same time as all these Tampa reporters got hyped up about Ian hitting Tampa, I began to realize that the hurricane would not hit us. Sure, we'd get some effects, which we did, but we would not suffer some cataclysmic event in which we would all have to go back to reading books by firelight. I knew enough about hurricanes over the past 60 years to know Ian was following a very familiar path, very much like Charlie from 2004. Likewise, the Euro models, which traditionally have been more accurate than the other ones, predicted for quite a while, maybe 4 days before Ian hit, that the southwest Florida area was in big trouble. Yet here were the local weather people still saying Tampa would get hit directly. On top of that, they were telling people to evacuate to Orlando, Daytona Beach, Fort Myers, so as to avoid this oncoming colossus that was supposed to hit Tampa. Yes, these experts directed people to go right into the areas that ended up getting hit the hardest. Now, I have zero weather predicting experience. Yes, I have a morbid fascination with hurricanes and disasters. One of my favorite old-time movies is Key Largo. And I will admit, watching videos from the Japan tsunami from like 10 years ago and marveling at the power of the earth. But I don't study weather phenomenon. Still, I could see no reason that these weather people were saying what they kept saying. As we all now know, they were wrong. When they did start changing their tunes, it was too late. Ian was less than 12 hours from the Fort Myers area, no time for people to get out, no time for the boarding up of their homes, no time for business owners to get important papers and equipment out of their buildings, which were certain to be destroyed. Horrible, disgusting. So why does this happen? Well, coupling this part 2 with part 1, I can only come to one conclusion. Money. Here's a fact about storms and mass shootings and financial dips and sports injuries and everything else of those natures, all that bad stuff that ever could come up in any sort of news. These are all big business. They are all big business, big money makers. Much more than beautiful days and peace and low inflation and non-drama. My belief, the weather people would not alter their predictions because the moment they said, this storm isn't going to hit Tampa, the powers that be knew that every TV in Pinellas and Hillsborough County, which are Tampa and Clearwater, St. Pete, would stop paying attention. Thus, no big ratings, no additional revenue, nothing. I have no doubt that these people handling all this the way they did got people injured and killed. And we can't forget all the people who left the area and spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on gas, food, and lodging for no reason. Where do all these people go to get their money, their health, and their lives back? And one more thing I'm totally over. As a member of the media myself, are all these people from the Weather Channel and elsewhere who believe part of their job means going to the disaster area and standing out on porches and beaches while 110 mile per hour wind blows. I am so over it. Can we not just call this what this really is? Weather porn. Why do they do it though? Big money, big ratings, the attention these reporters get for being brave. Unfortunately, too many people love to watch this stuff. The truth is we don't need more people who want to make themselves the story by going out and dodging trees and flying cows while standing 45 degrees into the wind like Michael Jackson did in that music video. We have satellites. We have unmanned live cams. We have weather instruments all over Florida and elsewhere that can alert people to what is going on. We don't need people there who labor to make themselves the center of the story. Because more people only means more problems. Because let's face it, what's that guy's name, Jim Cantore or whatever, and the rest of them would be unknowns if they didn't do what they've been doing over the past 20 years, if not longer. And really, that's the way weather people should be, anonymous. But they continue to show up because they don't want to go back to being unknowns. Thus, the show continues. This is everything that is wrong with all media in the U.S. today. Clamoring for attention, grasping for eyeballs, laboring for market share, and forgetting about why we're all here, to inform and educate. Really, if the experts can't predict where a hurricane is going to go with 2 days to go, then why are they getting paid? If these people were engineers, every bridge would collapse. I know how this applies to I think how this applies to true crime media is obvious. What are we doing to make sure disappearances get solved? What are we doing to make sure serial killers get stopped before they can get started? What are we doing to catch serial rapists? Because I have to admit, just like Jim Cantore's, once again, if that's his name, wardrobe person gets all excited when a hurricane is a-comin', I worry that too many true crime people see horrendous crimes as a way to advance their own careers. Whereas the only correct attitude is to have that we are cancer doctors. We all want it to end. We should want cures. We should have the maturity to want all the crimes of the world to end so we can all do other things with our lives. Or do we want it all to continue so we can have our podcasts and shows? Just like I'm convinced these weather people did in Tampa over the past week. Yes, they couldn't stop the storm. But I'm not so sure they want every day from here to eternity to be sunny and 80 degrees either. We in media have tremendous power. Are we using it for good? Are we telling the truth and presenting facts and being objective, even if in doing so, it may make us less relevant? I wonder. That's all I have. Thanks for listening or reading, and I'll catch you next month.